Okay, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use your own elevation data. So if you have a shapefile with maybe harvest data or seeder data that was RTK, then you can use that in the topo zones to actually create the elevation layer, and then we can send that for processing as we need. So first up, you're going to need a point shapefile that contains RTK elevations. So this is an example. I think this came from maybe cultivating, harrowing, something like that, a couple of different angles, but they were running RTK, and we have good coverage across the whole field. And we also just need to check the attribute table just to make sure that we have elevation data in there. So I can see there's elevation, and based on those numbers, 433 looks like that's meters to me. You may want to verify that as well with the location. So you need your elevation shapefile, and you also need a field boundary that corresponds to the coverage area of the elevation shapefile. So here I have those two files in a folder, and the first thing we'll do is just zip them up. So I don't know why they're all spread out like that, but there are the 4 elevation files that I need. So we'll just compress those to a zip file, and then we'll do the same with the boundary. So you only need the 4 files in there. And now we're ready to move those into our PowerZoner. So first thing we'll do is you have to have a shapefile boundary. You can't draw a field boundary and then import your own shapefile elevation. You have to have a shapefile boundary for this to work, because we need it when we send it for processing to the server. So choose your boundary that we just zipped up, and just make sure that it zooms into the correct location. So that looks good. And then we run the same process. So we run the NDVI fetch for the field based on the provided boundary. Once that's created the NDVI layers, then again you can preview them. So there's a good example of 2 different crops. You wouldn't want to use that one. And you're going to choose the years that everything looks good. So it looks like most of these are good, apart from that 1 year where we had the split crop. So I'm just going to say let's use all the rest of these and create the composite zones. And let's assume that we're happy with the 3 zones here, and we just want to now classify our zone 1, our red zones, by topography. So now we're going to move over to the topo tab. And because we used the shapefile field boundary, the upload elevation points is available. So I'm going to select the elevation shapefile that we created there. And you have to pick the column that contains the elevation values. Okay, so that shapefile was fairly straightforward, but if you have maybe a yield map harvest shapefile, could have a lot of different columns in there. You need to make sure you choose the elevation column. And you also need to select the correct units. So again, in this case, those elevations were actually in meters. So then I hit continue. And now what we're going to do is firstly interpolate that on our server. So again, this all goes to the remote server. You need to be online to be able to do this. And then once we've created the elevation model, we then run it through the wetness analysis as well, so that we do everything in one shot. And once it's downloaded, probably the best thing to do just to verify is open the 3D view and just make sure that it doesn't look crazy. So if you're seeing huge spikes or something in the field at random places, that probably means that your data wasn't very good. In this case, this one doesn't look too bad. And overall, yeah, I think that's going to be okay to use that one. So now the rest of the process is exactly the same as if we had fetched the LiDAR data and made everything that way. We just need to decide whether we want to split zone 1 into 2 or 3 zones, and where those cutoffs are going to be. So I'm just going to say I'm going to do just a 50-50 split here, just going to divide zone 1. I'm going to say either it's a more wetness prone area or a more dry prone area, and we can create those refined zones, sorry, from that. So now you can see we've got the blue areas, which are going to be the low productivity, lower lying areas, and the brown are low productivity, maybe the hilltops and ridges. And again, you can kind of adjust the transparency there to relate to, you can see some of those blue areas are sort of in lower lying areas, and some of the browns are on the hills. And again, you can also verify that in the viewer. And again, not every field maybe needs this. You'll need to decide whether or not you need to even do this for a field, or if you're happy just with the standard power zones. But the tool is there, and it's an option for you to use as well. So hopefully that helps, and that's how you can use your own elevation data in the case that you don't have LiDAR available.